In a trend that continues from last season, new tracks that have found their way into the regular season last year have now become pillars in a feverish playoff battle for the title. After tonight, 10 drivers get to pave the newest section of the road to the championship in Season 4, while the other 5 will arrive at a dead end from Rockingham. The run for Season 4 continues from Thunder Alley, where from the virtual Rockingham Speedway, we welcome you to the second and final race of the round of 15 in the 2022 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. And welcome to our continuing coverage of the playoffs live on MaxSpeedTV, where right here in the broadcast booth in Rockingham, North Carolina, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Of course, as I mentioned, second race of this round of 15, and this is the cutoff race for the first round of the playoffs. So that means after tonight, we would deduct our 15 down to just 10, and of course then we'll have our 3-race stretch all the way to the championship 5 at Texas Motor Speedway. And this track, introduced last season, Rockingham Speedway, was one of the last regular season races along with Nashville Super Speedway, but now with the decision from the league owners at 4-Wide creating the Season 4 schedule, it is now going to become a very interesting part of how this run for the title is going to go this year. Of course, we had our last race, Nashville Super Speedway, go swimmingly well when it came down to a lot of the playoff battles, a lot of the guys making their statements known and putting that foot forward to get closer to that title, or at least get themselves comfortable for this entrance into the Rockingham Speedway. Before we get into a lot of the details about where this championship fight is going to look, what our playoff picture is looking like, why don't we take a look as to where we are in the virtual world, get a little bit more in-depth information as to where we are here tonight. Rockingham Speedway opened back in 1965 and was a staple of NASCAR racing. Of course, not hosting any real NASCAR National Series races. Last hosted the Truck Series a long time ago, a bunch of years back. It is a 1.017 mile track with 1.636 kilometers on that end. It opened back, of course, 1965, and the banking, very interesting on this one. 22 to 25 degrees of banking in the turns and only 8 degrees on the straightaways. But one thing to note about this Rockingham Speedway, of course, given the fact that it is so old, this track has a lot of personality, a lot of bumps, and a lot of character that will surely bring these drivers to a different type of test tonight when it comes down to these brand new next-gen cars. And of course, Rockingham, a very aggressive track, but so was the track we visited 1 week ago, where it was a new driver on the top of the charts over at Nashville Super Speedway. The Ally Machine, Jaden Porter, in just his 3rd start in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, got around this pivotal pass at lap 130 with 21 laps to go on Brandon Banks. And then it was smooth sailing for the driver of the 28. Remember, finished well at Watkins Glen even after the little connection issues midway through the race. Did well at the 1.5 miler at Kansas and has only backed it up ever since. Of course, he's going to be in tonight's race again. Look at the pivotal pass in turn 3, and there was the white flag. Jaden Porter all by himself, cruising to the checkered flag, his very first win of the 2022 season, and of course becoming the 11th different winner in this season so far, and obviously becoming a huge playoff spoiler. You see the red banner not on that 28, Jaden Porter, a new driver, so kind of set things into different motions as the 28 burned it down, and it was a beautiful sight to behold for the driver of the 28, who of course will try to back things up and go 2 in a row. The first time that we'll have that since, I believe, Lawson Peel, who did it back at Atlanta and Homestead of Miami Speedway. We have yet to see a repeat winner go back-to-back in consecutive fashion. And with Jaden Porter winning that race over at Nashville Super Speedway, it shuffled things up on the point standings just a little bit. We'll take a look as to where our playoff picture is looking like after our first race. And of course, this is going to be a place to watch for 8th through all the way back to 15th. That's where we're going to see a lot of the drivers shuffle around. There's some that are not here tonight at this Rockingham Speedway, so they will fall back in the point standings, most notably Kyle Benson. He is not here tonight after his stellar performance over in the Music City, although that gap of 17 points should be good enough to advance him into the round of 10, although the questions are still arising there. And the biggest thing to take note of, Curtis Kelly, Tyler Murray, Mark Harris, who had done well to start at Nashville Super Speedway, are not doing well in the point standings. They are in danger. It's a 6-point cut between Michael Newbraw over in P11 and Cody Kinsey +6, who currently holds that final catered spot into the round of 10, and that will get very hairy. That will get very close. But of course, we'll see exactly what happens as the field takes pace behind the iRacing official pace car. And with that, while we'll head trackside, we'll take a look at your starting grid, see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be lining up here tonight from the Rock and Thunder Alley, North Carolina. Eric Schaefer, remember his performance back in the Cup Series and the ARCA Series back in season number 3. He'll try to get his first win at the Rock with a 23.698. That is good enough to get him the pole. First one to see the green. Colin Forster, he's your defending pole sitter and your defending winner. So Forster going to try to go 2 in a row from the Rock. And of course, that will be a big win for Forster to advance him into the round of 10. AJ Green, his Stonks Motorsports teammate, starts inside of row number 2 and 3rd. Jesse Prees in the Netflix number 0 Chevrolet Camaro, he'll be on his outside. Good enough a time for P4. Craig Laumslugger, we know he's very good at these rough, abrasive racetracks. He's going to try to back things up from Nashville Super Speedway 1 week ago. He starts inside top 5, and you'll have the Stonks Motorsports entrant, the 38, Lance Hill, in a very patriotic paint scheme in tribute to Trackhouse Racing and the colors they ran just a couple of weeks back. He starts outside in P6. Rookie Jaden Porter is going to be looking for his second straight win in Season 4. He'll start inside row number 4 in P7. Brandon Banks in the 88, who barely just lost that battle over Jaden Porter in the final laps of that Nashville race. He's going to try to get his first win of the campaign as he starts in P8. Tyler Murray, Lee Goner, he starts in P9, and Curtis Kelly back into the top 10. Both of them, of course, below that cut line, trying to claw their way through the top 10. Lawson Peel, remarkable qualifying effort for him on the negative end. Surprising that he ends up putting a good time good enough for 11th on the racetrack, although he is your points leader. Christopher Bishop will be to his outside in P12. Look to the drivers, row 7 on back. Michael Newbrow rolls off from 13th. Mark Harris in the 5 will be in 14th. Tony Kivitt, Cody Kinsey, 15th and 16th. 2 drivers that did not take time, and neither did 18th place Kevin D'Elia in the 53, who will finalize our field here tonight from the Rockingham Speedway. So not a huge field by any stretch of the imagination. We've seen larger numbers here in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series, but that number of 18 will mean a lot if you're Kyle Benson, who's not attending tonight's race, because he is 17 points above that cut line. So things may get very close if things don't go right for him. We'll take a look at the weather. Before we get started, we are just shy of triple-digit degrees on the track surface. 98, just shy of 100. We have 75 degrees in the air. Winds barely to the west at about 5 miles per hour, and it is a partly cloudy afternoon in sim, similar to the conditions we ran last year at Rockingham Speedway. So we'll be sure to have a good one with the track temp maybe rising or decreasing over time, but this track is just going to be as hard as it has ever been. It's going to still be a huge challenge for the field. 2 Camaros at the front row. Eric Schaefer looking for his first win here. Forrester looking for his second. Green flag in the air as we go racing for the final race in the round of 15. Forster looking to mount a charge out of turn 4. Can't do it in turn 1. It's Eric Schaefer to lead us through on lap number 1, a clean lap respectively by the field. And talking to some of the drivers in the Discord chat a little bit earlier on tonight before the race started, they had complained a lot about turn 2. We'll get to that in just a couple of moments, and we'll expand in just a little bit. But for right now, things are starting to heat up once again. Forster looking to the rear bumper of Schaefer. Will try to pick his nose to the inside. It just cannot do it. Schaefer going to float high in turn 1 and will keep the race lead. The field single file saw a little pass between Jesse Prees, Lance Hill around top 5 territory, but they have since single filed out. Look, Craig Launslaughter has fallen back over to P7. I think our first battle is around top 10, top 15. I think right about here, Lawson Peel and Tyler Murray going at it. This is for P9 on the racetrack. Murray up high in the black, red, and blues. 213 Simware Chevrolet Camaro. That is Lawson Peel down low. Second straight week running a Chase Elliott paint scheme this time around. He's got the Hooters colors on board, so a white and orange look. And we'll take a look on board with the driver of the 12, the most dominant driver this season with 5. Of course, has yet to get a win in the playoffs until only race 2, so a lot of time for Peel to advance himself and get the golden ticket to the championship 5. As he runs in P10 right now. They're still single file, although it is still getting crazy around P1 because Colin Forrester almost lost the race car going out to turn 3, and AJ Green picks the spot up in the move and sends him behind your race leader. Solid move by AJ Green. We saw his strength over at Nashville Superspeedway that really did not result in a great performance at the end after a side-by-side battle with Joe Sanchez lasted at least more than 5 laps. The tires had burned off, caused a caution, and got spun by Joe Sanchez in his machine. Unfortunately, Sanchez is not here to reconcile the beef, but AJ Green now running in second, comfortable lead all the way at the bottom, although that has fallen back at least second, about half a second to your race leader, Eric Schaefer, who has since picked it up. And Eric Schaefer, he's been one of the best at tracks like these, a lot of the short tracks. Of course, Schaefer, a multiple-time winner here in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series in Season 4. He's picked up 3 wins on the campaign, his most really of any season that we've seen, although his first 2 came oddly at very big tracks. We saw over at Pocono in the green-white checkered overtime finish, came away with that win. That was his first to lock him into the Season 4 playoffs, and then went back at it with a win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That was a beautiful finish between him, Lance Hill and company, Kevin D'Elia as well, coming out of turn 4. And then that third win finally came at the places he usually calls home, and his performance is usually at the best at the short tracks, and then got one at the Bristol Motor Speedway and the last great Coliseum. So Schaefer with those 3 wins, of course, well locked in. And going into tonight's race, the performance from Nashville Superspeedway had put him 16 points over the cut line, or rather, more points over the cut line, about 22 points above that P10 spot. So safe to say Schaefer is mostly safe, although this win, though, would just solidify his presence as one of the heavy hitters as he's starting to lose a little bit of time to the drivers second and third. And you can take a look all the way back from entrance to turn 3 to exit turn 2. Nobody is side by side right now on the racetrack. Everybody's single file. It just shows you just how hard this track makes you work as a driver as you ride on board with third place Colin Forrester. So riding on board, you can hear the revs still in 5th gear. Nobody's shifting here at this Rockingham Speedway. Of course, you carry so much momentum, but we'll take a look around, exit turn 4, and we'll get to the problem spot for a lot of the drivers here tonight. Turn 1 and 2, a very tight radius going into the corner. A lot of banking, of course, up from the bottom to the top of the racetrack, but you see those bumps oscillating the car. Again, this is independent suspension on the rear end for these NASCAR next-gen cars, but still, the bumps don't really cater to these cars very well. 3 and 4 seems to be a little better on that end to keep the momentum high, and the bumps are still as crazy as ever, and Forrester still holding his own, has yet to get by his teammate AJ Green for second, and they are still single file all the way through the entirety of the field. As there's a lap car up in the front of the field, or in front of your race leader, that is Cody Kinsey coming out of turn 4 there. He is the white and black Logitech G Chevrolet Camaro for Kinsey. Of course, he is right on the cusp of losing that battle to Michael Newbraw for the cut line, and Newbraw right now 13th on the racetrack. That is a total of 3 spots ahead. That is going to help his case, but Kinsey's going to have to do a lot worse, and Newbraw is going to have to do a lot better. More spots needed to be gained if you're the 6th car to get up to that top 10 spot. Here's Mark Harris, Curtis Kelly going at it. They're pretty close around for P10. Same deal for Lawson Peel and Jaden Porter. They may go at it in a little bit. This is for P8 on the racetrack, and the rookie, the driver of the 28, the Ally Chevrolet Camaro, had some different colors, the more purplish style at Nashville Superspeedway, the Music City scheme that Alex Bowman usually runs in real life, but came back to normalcy, and that's a big hiccup out of the middle of turn 1 and 2, and now here comes Peel to the inside for P8. And a solid move for Peel, of course, textbook to the inside, and here comes Mark Harris now peeking underneath Curtis Kelly. A little wiggle out of the 71 that time by out of turn 2, so a similar mistake there with Kelly and Porter, and Harris is going to try to duck his nose in, just can't do it. The momentum too strong over the top lane, and Curtis Kelly will hold on strong for the last spot into the top 10. And of course, if you're noticing right now on the screen, the difference between the playoff drivers and the non-playoff competitors, they are highlighted in red on their race cars, on their windshield banners, on their spoilers, and their splitters. You can tell the bright red shade on these cars. Of course, last year they had it in bright orange, but this year in bright red to signify they are running for this 2022 title. Basically top 3, top 4, top 5, and you can go as far back as almost top 8 or so. All of them practically in playoff contention. The last driver, rather the first driver not in the playoffs this year, is Jaden Porter back in P9. So it's top 8, all highlighted by the playoff competitors here at the moment. And that is definitely huge when it comes down to guys like Kyle Benson, who are not in tonight's festivities here from Rockingham, North Carolina. So that's going to matter big time with these guys doing well. And an extra winner isn't certainly going to help because, of course, with Porter getting the win at Nashville Superspeedway just 1 week ago, it sent the playoff grid into somewhat of a frenzy because usually you have the playoff guys going out winning those playoff races and locking themselves in. They're all the way shooting to the top of the leaderboard, but because Jaden Porter stole that one away from the likes of Kyle Benson, Craig Lownslugger, who rounded out the top 3 there last week, they now have to look for this win that'll solidify their place into the next round. And Schaefer definitely looking to do that as he has kept it within 0.3 of a second, 0.4 of a second at best. And they may scuffle now for third on back. Forrester, I believe, made a mistake there into the last lap or so. And now here comes Jesse Prees on the inside for the podium. And so Jesse Prees makes the move on the inside, and we've seen Jesse Prees do some miraculous things this year and remarkably this season. We talk about the next-gen cars as he ride on board with the driver of the 00. The leader is starting to catch up to Cody Kinsey every single lap as he crosses for lap number 23 of 167. But Prees has been one of the most consistent over the past couple of races, and even before the playoffs started, you think about his stunning performance at Nashville Superspeedway in the first race to set him pretty much comfortably into this round of 10 if he can get by to it. But you think back to the larger tracks as well. An Atlanta Motor Speedway, a very rough surface that eats the tires up. Prees was one of the top runners there in the top 5, top 10. Same deal at Homestead at Miami Speedway. We ran that in the 9th time. Lawson Peel took both of those wins away, but Jesse Prees was a driver to watch for. He was somebody to look after, and that's going to mean a lot when we get to those bigger tracks into this second round. Darlington will be next, one of the hardest tracks to drive on the iRacing service with the NASCAR cars. Think about Talladega, a very big track. Of course, that's a wide open area since anyone can get the win. Then you look at a place like Charlotte, a 1.5-mile oval, and that's a place where Jesse Prees has done remarkably well as he starts to catch up onto the top 2, and we may have a battle between these top 2 in just a moment. Last time by, it was almost a full 1/10 of a difference between AJ Green and Eric Schaefer, and as a matter of fact, here comes the 48, the Colorado Avalanche machine, to the inside to try to give Stocks Motorsports their first lead tonight from Rockingham Speedway. A duck on the inside, a slide up to the middle of the racetrack, and AJ Green, your first lead change of the night. And a caution comes out as soon as that happened. That could not have been better for the driver of the 48, and I believe we have our culprit. Looks like Lawson Peel, playoff points leader, in trouble. As you see him skimming to the apron there in turn 3 and 4, there seems to be heavy toe link damage on the right front. And indeed, you can see the confirmation of it, the wobbling right front tire as he comes to a slow to try to at least nurse it to pit road. And the Chase Elliott machine not looking good outside on that right front, as he may have had a scuffle with the outside wall. We'll take a look and see what happened. This was in a battle with Jaden Porter. Remember, he got around the likes of a couple drivers before that and ducked to the inside of, I believe it was Curtis Kelly or Brandon Banks, either one of them, and Peel, working behind this 28, was trying to put the pressure, and we talked about the trouble spot being turn 2 right there. Got loose and overcorrected. The car just slams into the outside wall. Again, no safer barriers here at this Rockingham Speedway on the straightaways. So basically just hard concrete wall, and that was a good enough of a hit to send him down to the apron with toe link damage on the right front, and that is a big no-no on these next-gen cars. The toe link's very exposed on these cars for Gen 7, although fortunately Lawson Pio does have the fast repair, so he will knock that off immediately. It's going to be very quick though on lap 27. Here come the pit stops, and Stonks Motorsports blazing out of pit road. Quick jump. 6.5 seconds for AJ Green, the fastest pit stop out of anyone so far. It was a 7.1 second stop for his teammate Lance Hill. I was good enough to get him to second. Tyler Murray, I believe, missed his stall, so he is up in third. And that means your former leader, Eric Schaefer, had 4 tires and fuel, and he's going to fall back to P6. So an interesting call by the Stonks Motorsports group and Curtis Kelly also to add in on that as well. Lawson Pio, as he got his fast repair, he's going to recoup back to 15th. Tyler Murray is now going to head for pit road. So there's a look at the number 8 as he comes down for service for the first time tonight. Of course, it'll be 4 tires and fuel. We'll see if he elects to do the same thing that Hill, Green, and Kelly all did for the top 3. Was not expecting that. 28 laps into a race, you think that these tires, very worn after that run, especially with the way this Rockingham Speedway treats these cars and the tires specifically, not only on the next gen, but to any other stock car on the service. You can even think to the Gen 6 cars. We had the same problem, rear tires getting lit up, and you had to really nurse them, cater them to their liking, or else you were just going to struggle for rear grip all evening long. And so a rather unique call here for the Stonks Motorsports duo and Curtis Kelly. It appears that maybe this could be for some track position, maybe anticipating another yellow down the line, but they were not hesitant to take this move whatsoever, although we are just 28 laps into a run. Usually that would be good enough for many drivers in the field to come down for service. So AJ Green, of course, leading your charge right now, and I believe we'll get the 1 to green signal from the pace car. Indeed we will. So lights are out on the pace car. We will be ready to go green on lap 30 of 167. Still around 137 laps to go. It's still a long way. Telemetry tells us if we go green for the rest of the race, we go about another hour here on MaxSpeedTV. So maybe this call could go well if cautions start sporadically appearing, if we see them start to breed. But if we get the long green flag runs, and we'll start to watch for the guys. Right now, 5th on back, Eric Schaefer, that 22. You see the black and red 22 on your screen just a little bit inside of row 3. Him and Craig Lautenslager, the first 2 out on 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Actually, no, it's Jesse Priest just in front, but Schaefer has been the fastest car so far, apart from AJ Green. So we'll see if this call by AJ Green, Lance Hill, Curtis Kelly end up going to fruition, or whether it'll just be off or bust, as the pace car will come out of turn 4. We'll head down pit road. We will conclude lap number 29. Bring on lap 30 here tonight from the virtual Rockingham Speedway. Stonks Motorsports duo gridlock front row. AJ Green has discretion for the race lead. He'll crawl it, now head on the gas. Green flag in the air. We're back underway from the rock. And Green, a solid jump out of turn 2, and it doesn't look like the effects of the old tires are working to their detriment. Maybe now so in a turn 4 as Curtis Kelly backs up the whole field. 5th on back. Prees is able to break through, but he is blocking both lanes. Kelly back to turn 1. And Schaefer will give the bumper, almost slides up there 3 wide. Jaden Porter on the outside. Schaefer down low. They'll switch up, and now here comes Brandon Banks to make it 3 wide again in turn 3. Kelly hitting the reverse button on the old tires, and fortunately top 2 haven't suffered the same fate, maybe up till now. Lance Hill under a myriad of pressure, as here comes Schaefer and Lautenslager for position. And a huge stack uphill gets loose out of turn 2. That'll break free. The likes of Prees and company. There goes Schaefer by. There goes Brandon Banks. There goes Mark Harris. There's Christopher Bishop. All the guys who took 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles now on the way to the lead. And speaking of the lead, here comes Craig Lautenslager underneath AJ Green into turn 1. Green moves up high. Jaden Porter trying to stick behind Jesse Prees, looking down low, and they're approaching a lap car there that looks to be Tyler Murray in the 8 machine who went down pit road. They are 3 wide in the middle for the top 5. Jaden Porter loose out of turn 4, and here comes Lautenslager back to turn 1 in the lead. Jesse Prees now looking for it all into turn 1 on the inside. And a better move out of turn 2 for Priest. He'll use Tyler Murray as a pick. They'll lap him going into the third corner. And a solid move puts Jesse Priest into the race lead for the first time tonight. And Schaefer has moved to third, a solid recovery. You think back to the drivers who did stay out. AJ Green is the first among them. He is settled in P7, so he will try to stop the bleeding. Lance Hill may have some more cars on his tail before this is all said and done. Christopher Bishop back there, Cody Kinsey there as well. Majority of the field, apart from those top 3, went down for 4 fresh tires and some fuel. Here's the hiccup out of turn 4 for Jesse Priest. And now Lounslugger will look back to the inside and will duck back in the middle of 1 and 2. So Priest will hold on to the lead. And how about Eric Schaefer pinching his way back? Maybe about a first second underway in turn 3. As you ride on board here with the 13, Craig Lounslugger. Of course, this is the view behind this Toyota Camry. Lounslugger finished in the top 3 at Nashville Superspeedway just 1 week ago. And you see him running the inside lane, different from Eric Schaefer, who is employing the same strategy he did in the ARCA race just last season, where he would swing it up high in 1 and 2, let the car roll in the apex of the corner, and then dash it back down to the inside, keeping in the middle in 3 and 4. That's been the fastest approach for Eric Schaefer. That's the reason why he's been so dominant at tracks like these. Also with the fact that he's been able to save tires better than a majority of the field, and right now has yet to break apart from the 13, still maintaining in third. And they're only just letting Jesse Priest run away with the lead. Now 4/10 of a second. Going back to turn 3. Schaefer looking for a move down low. And he may have it. Indeed he will. Nose down, door to door. Here comes the 22 for second. Schaefer will slide up ahead of the 13. A solid move to get him back into P2. And your pole sitter will look to get back to P1 in just a moment's time, but that little bump out of turn 2 may have been enough to keep Lounslugger in the game and bring in the 88 of Brandon T. Banks, a driver we don't talk about all too much, and one we didn't discuss much at Nashville Superspeedway either. Remember, he's a Championship 5 apparent driver back in season number 3. He was at Atlanta Motor Speedway when we were running for the season 3 title, so you can't scoff at this 88 who has yet to get a win, but has been sort of the Ryan Newman of the group, the most consistent, one of the best drivers on this group, but one that just has yet to find that last puzzle piece to get to victory lane in the season. But Banks, he's done growing the points. He's solid in the points right now, ahead of that top 10. So Banks only looking to keep a consistent run here alive as he will monitor this battle. Third partying the battle for second. Schaefer and Lounslugger now simmering down, but Banks may have enough pace to get around this 13 as of lap 41. So you look here, this is on board with AJ Green, your former race leader, just before our first caution came out a little bit earlier on tonight. Again, he was one of the few that did not take tires on pit road, had for a 6.5 second stop. That usually means fuel only on his car, and you can see the gap all the way back to Lawson Field. There's Tyler Murray, a lap car letting him by entrance turn 3. So the Colorado Avalanche Chevrolet Camaro not doing so hot right now. You can figure they were hoping for a yellow flag on the racetrack, at least at some point, for the restart to breed some sort of caution, and he was almost a part of it, getting shoved out of the way by Eric Schaefer and the group trying to get by, but fortunately was not. Here comes Christopher Bishop to the inside. That is a pass complete for P8. And so Green continues to fall back in the midst of the top 10. A update on Lawson Peel, who was the cause of a first caution tonight on the back straightaway out of turn 2. He has since picked things up back to 7. So the Hooters machine, remember, he has used a fast repair on pit road. So he's going to have to keep this car clean for the rest of this event up to lap 167. So he may be a little more careful this time around, especially moving the throttle out of turn 2. But that 12 back in contention, at least for a good points paying position to keep him ahead of that buffer and keep himself at least in the playoff points lead by the time we enter Darlington 1 week from tonight. Here's a battle now for third, developing. Brandon Banks, better run out of turn 2 on the 13. Will look a nose on the inside, just cannot find the space nor the momentum to make the pass complete. And so he'll tuck behind, although Lounslugger now starting to fall off just a little bit. Looks like the pass from Eric Schaefer held him up just a little bit. The 13 lacking some pace right now. Last time by 24.75, and the two leaders up in front said 24.5. 5s. 24.769 for the driver of the 13 as he holds on to third. And at least for the moment, Brandon Banks is only 1/1000th of a second quicker on that lap time as of lap 46. So they're relatively even, and Brandon Banks, I think, fell back there after that failed pass attempt. So Jesse Preece in the race lead as of lap number 47. Will try to keep it green, but it is a 0-0 with a head out front here from Thunder Valley. We'll take a short break, but you won't miss a thing here from the virtual Rockingham Speedway as we continue our coverage of the last race in the round of 15 for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Back live from the virtual Rockingham Speedway. Of course, thank you for watching here on MaxSpeedTV as we continue our second race and final one of the round of 15 in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs in Season 4. And you are watching a potential battle for P1. Jesse Preece has been under fire by Eric Schaefer for what looks to be an eternity now in the past 5 or so laps. And Schaefer, who started on pole tonight, is looking to get back to where he started. That 22 Reaper Sim Lab Chevrolet has been as fast as ever, ticking off laps just as fast, if not quicker, than the driver of the 00. So things may get heated. And as you know, it looks like Cody Kinsey, Tyler Murray was in the shot a little while ago. Lap traffic is in effect, one of them being your second place starter, Colin Forster in the 99. It has not been a good launch in the first 57 for your former Rockingham winner, and he is 14th right now. Cody Kinsey strikes the outside wall for a moment, but the top two are clear. Craig Lumslugger rounds out the top three. Brandon Banks and Jaden Porter so far complete your top 5 as we approach, maybe the halfway portion of this race. We still got a little while to go before we do that. Had our first caution earlier in the race involving our 5-time winner this season, Lawson Peel, struck the outside wall on the back straightaway. He got his fast repair, and right now he has picked things back up to P6. And then on that pit stop, AJ Green, Curtis Kelly, and Lance Hill made a decision to only go fuel for their stop. Did not get any tires. They are now since fallen back. AJ Green in 11th, Lance Hill in 12th, and Curtis Kelly is now 1 lap down behind the likes of Colin Forster back in to the top 15, and there may be another driver lapped here. This is 12th place Lance Hill, so already things are starting to get picked off quickly for the lead lap drivers, and Jesse Breeze, Eric Schaefer, and the rest continue to set the pace here tonight for the virtual Rockingham Speedway. And Jesse Breeze, remarkable start here in the opening 57. Of course, we don't know how things are going to fare if we continue on what may be our longest green flag run here tonight in this race, but at this point in time, Jesse Breeze is put it on right now. You see the EPI colors there on the rear deck lid, the red spoiler on the rear end to let you know he is indeed a driver running for the championship, and if he can get this race completed and at least get a win or maybe even get second or third, that may be the last thing he needs to comfortably enter into the round of 10. But we start things over at Darlington, and again, mentioned earlier in this race that Jesse Breeze has been good at the relatively larger tracks in our schedule in Season 4, so you may watch out for that 0-0 later on if he can advance and at least keep things as comfortable as possible. Maybe a battle for P4 on the reins, maybe for the 88 of Brandon T. Banks under fire from the Ally machine. Of course, that is Jaden Porter, who got his first ever win in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series just last week at the Nashville Super Speedway. Banks was on the short end of that, was on the older tires, and fell back and had to switch around, and Jaden Porter now forcing his way down low. And at turn 3, they get miraculously close coming out of turn 4, but Porter will have the space, and here we go side by side for what is P4 on the racetrack. Porter's sliding high, pushing Banks up the racetrack. A good amount of space between the two of them, and a really tough turn 2 exit there for the 28. That'll open things up for Lawson Peel, who will try to get back at Jaden Porter after almost about wrecking himself, hitting the outside wall, trying to get by this 28 on the back straightaway. But ultimately, he will keep things stable, and we will, of course, stay green flag racing. And one thing, of course, drivers were noting about the issues in turn 1 and 2 that this car seemingly wants to wreck every time you come out of the exit. And there's a reason why. Of course, the bumps on the bottom of the racetrack, we covered that when we were on board with Colin Forster earlier on at the start of this race. Those bumps take into effect in a wild way when you think about these NASCAR Next Gen cars. Of course, these cars sealed to the ground, a full underbody and a full underwing, a diffuser all the way on the bottom side of the car. You took a good look at that as Lawson Peel was sitting behind Jaden Porter, and now they're going side by side for the entrance into the top 5. And Peel loose at a turn 2 again behind Jaden Porter. So the second straight time, Peel struggling with the race car coming out of the same part of the track behind the same driver for position. And that's why turn 2 is a trouble spot. You get into those oscillations, it starts to bump around the suspension. The underbody does not like that. It likes to push air down low. It needs a flat surface as possible to get downforce out of the race car, and it loses all bottom end downforce there. The car starts to really get squirrely, and the rear tires start to light up. And for Peel there, that could have sent him into the inside wall and could have set him in stone to be out of this race. Fortunately, he saves it, and fortunately, we stay green. So Eric Schaefer putting the pressure on Jesse Breeze. That has since fallen off. He's got on a cliff, 1.4 seconds to your race leader, and now things are starting to get tight for second. Craig Lauenslager in the 13, maybe the next challenger here. Of course, Craig Lauenslager, one of the best when it comes down to these very abrasive short tracks. Darlington, intermediate in between. He was very good there and finished well. Ran for the win last season in the Gen 6 cars, and then almost could have ran for the win last week at Nashville Super Speedway, and pretty much liked his chances going into these next couple of tracks. There's Tyler Murray on fresh tires trying to unlap himself on the racing surface, and Murray right now is 7 laps down in 16th. A lot of work that he needs to do to get back on the lead lap and be in contention for the win, but Lauenslager will give way, and Lauenslager may sooner than later get to Eric Schaefer for second as we cross the line for lap 69. So still single file throughout most of the field. Jaden Porter trying to catch up to Brandon Banks. Lawson Peel has gone back into the game, so we may see another side-by-side battle between them. Hopefully Lawson doesn't get loose out of turn 2, and hopefully he can get to that back bumper of Porter. Maybe have ourselves a three-way battle for what is P4 on the racetrack. This is going to be very valuable for those drivers in that red banner territory. Of course, Lawson Peel, he's in a place of defense. He's at the top of the point standings, 2,066 points over the rest of the field. Of course, does not have a win since we only had one race before this, but Peel basically in the catbird seat, waiting to see what happens, and now as he looks underneath Jaden Porter, Porter will give way for a moment, and finally, Lawson Peel will make the pass complete, this time clean, and will not get loose out of turn 2, and will solidify P5 for the moment. But Lawson Peel just trying to keep his points gap up. That's all you can ask for in these playoffs. Of course, when you head into the first race of the run for the title, all the points get reset. You do get bonus points by the halfway marker points that these guys get in the regular season, and of course those wins add bonus points, 5 of them to be exact for the 12 appeals. So he's got a plethora of them going into these playoffs, but his only goal right now is to keep his points lead stable and to keep it as high as possible before the championship 5 to get there at Texas Motor Speedway, and then think about that journey there for what could be his first ever title in his 4-wide racing Cup Series career. And then you look at drivers like Brandon T. Banks going into tonight's race pretty far into the top 10. He is 9th right now, so he is basically right above that cut line in front of Cody Kinsey for the last spot in. Cody Kinsey has not had the greatest race, but Brandon Banks, especially with the fact that Kyle Benson is not here tonight, with the fact that Lance Hill, Colin Forster, they haven't had the greatest races so far, with that call by Hill taking no tires, by the fact that Colin Forster is now lapped down on track, by the fact that AJ Green, he's now back in 11th. He's also 1 lap down. There are a lot of drivers in front of him that are not doing well tonight from Rockingham Speedway, so that could be the green light for Brandon Banks to enter closer to the top 5 and maybe get a better look and advantage into the round of 10, and of course going into the championship 5 race at Texas Motor Speedway. Jaden Porter got loose out of turn 2. We monitored that, fortunately kept it straight, avoided that inside wall, and so we will stay green. And now Lawson Peel continuing to pick off drivers. Now Lawson Peel gets around Brandon Banks. Banks will try something maybe into turn 3, would duck back and think better of it. Lawson Peel win a P4. So Lawson Peel gets into 4th. There's Cody Kinsey, a couple of 100 feet in front of him. He is a lapped car on the racetrack, so no worries about position. And speaking of position on the racetrack, Lauenslager has kind of simmered down on Eric Schaefer, has plateaued at the moment. And so that 13 not getting the run on the 22 that he would like. Of course, Schaefer floating it high and moving it down to the racetrack, and he's done a solid job of saving tires. Has not been good enough to catch up to your race leader right now, who is remaining consistent, but Eric Schaefer is still holding on a second. This is a good look at the 13 and just how rough this racetrack is. Rockingham Speedway really rocks you around, no pun intended, with the amount of bumps. And again, like I said at the top of the show, the amount of character that this track holds. It's been open since 1965 and has had a lot of NASCAR history on it, dating back to the Cup Series. Their last race here at Rockingham happened in the early 2000s, and then the most recent, of course, being the NASCAR Truck Series. They took their trucks over here to the Nashville, or rather to the Rockingham Speedway, and it was a while back when they did that, almost about 10 years or so, a full decade since we had NASCAR National Series racing here at Rockingham Speedway. Although I think last year they did have some sort of money funded into this track. They did the same thing with North Wilkesboro, where they put a couple $1 million, I believe it was $1 million cutthroat right there, $1 million flat into this Rockingham Speedway. So maybe sooner than later we will have some racing, and maybe some NASCAR racing if they end up coming back to this famed short track in Rockingham, North Carolina. So as we close in on the halfway marker here at tonight's races, we continue to watch the battle for P2 develop in the 13 and the 22. They're getting around lap car Curtis Kelly here out of the second corner. We'll take a look at our race summary, see exactly how things have unfolded over these 80 laps. And of course, we have had only one caution tonight. That is, in fact, due to Lawson Peel hitting the outside wall out of turn 2 on the back straightaway. There you see the 12 on the back shot there, trying to get around the 71 of Curtis Kelly going into turn 1. He was our only caution tonight. We've had multiple lead changes. Eric Schaefer being the first to be changed, at least on the lead when it came down to it. AJ Green got around, our first caution came out, and then Jesse Priest taking the lead away, and that's where we have stood since. And that one caution with the multiple caution laps is the only time we've been behind the pace car, apart from the fact that we were behind the pace car to start on the starting grid. Here's the 13 outside turn 1 in the 22. He'll slide up. They almost make door-to-door contact. This will bring Lawson Peel into a three-way battle for second. Schaefer gets loose down low, and Lounslugger trying to keep himself clear into turn 3. And again, contact between the two. It'll shuffle Schaefer out of the picture for a moment, and Craig Lounslugger finds a way on the outside for second. A gorgeous move, and really, I believe the first time we've seen somebody use the outside for a race position on the racetrack. We've seen them usually use the bottom, and really the last time we saw anybody make passes on the outside, it was the discrepancy between the 3 cars who had stayed out on old tires and all the guys on new tires, which included this group: Jesse Priest, Lautenschlager, Schaefer, Lawson Peel, and now another outside move being made on in turn 2 by Lawson Peel, the 5-time winner, trying to get around the 3-time winner. And it looks like Schaefer starting to struggle heavily with his Chevrolet Camaro. The grip not there the way he would like, and Lawson Peel switches in front, and Lawson Peel finds a way to the last spot of the top 3. And Cody Kinsey might poke a way through. Of course, Kinsey a lap car here, so will not take effect. He is at least a solid 1.3 seconds ahead of the next car in line, that is Jaden Porter. But Jesse Priest right now in the race lead, and I believe we may have had an issue here. We do not have any indication here on the session, so we'll try and take a look at that. Apologize for the technical difficulties here. It appears things have frozen here on the iRacing sim. Maybe something happened. We somewhat experienced a similar fate at Watkins Glen, where things had pretty much gone awry at that front. And I believe we may have been kicked out of the session here, so we'll take a moment. We'll try to get things radio style here. We'll get back into our race from the virtual Rockingham Speedway, but you're not really missing much apart from that battle there that just simmered down for third. Lawson Peel getting around Eric Schaefer, and Jesse Priest continuing to hold on to the race lead. It's been a beautiful race so far by that Netflix 00 machine. Of course, wasn't in the lead to start, but since he picked it up, he has not looked back, and he's got about a 3.5-4 second gap over the second place car. Of course, Craig Lounslugger and gang, when they were battling for position, that ultimately slowed them down, and Priest has been weaving his way through traffic. We have stayed on a green flag run. This is our longest green flag run of the entire race, remarkably so, after our first caution involving the 12 of Lawson Peel. So Jesse Priest continuing to hold on, and if he can get his win tonight, it'll be his first in his 4 Wide Racing Cup Series career, and it'll be his first in the playoffs, and it will enter him directly into the round of 10, and will only continue to cement what's been a consistent run all evening through. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties. If you're just joining us here on MaxSpeedTV, Kenneth Bueno up in the broadcast booth, bringing you through our 167 lap event from Rockingham, North Carolina. Jesse Priest in first, Craig Lounslugger in second. We are updated that Eric Schaefer is holding on to fourth, with Lawson Peel just in front of him into the top 3, and that's as far as we've seen so far. Jaden Porter has locked up the top 5 for the moment, as we'll try to get back in the session. Hopefully we are still green flag racing. Remember, we had a similar issue over at Watkins Glen, New York, when session kind of went whack and the server had gone down on US Boston East for iRacing. Hopefully that's not the case tonight. We are entering back into the session, so there appears to be no problems on our end, and we'll continue, I believe, green flag racing. And indeed we are. Things are getting pretty chippy around P3, P2. It looks like Lawson Peel has found his way around the driver of the 13, Craig Lounslugger. So at that point in time, Lawson Peel now starting to really pick things off and setting some of the fastest laps and being one of the fastest drivers outright here tonight from the virtual Rockingham Speedway. So we'll get you back to our coverage. We'll get you back to the race, and Lawson Peel up into P2. As we look at Jesse Priest up at the front of the field, or rather Craig Launslager, who's in third. There's a look at Jesse Preece, your race leader, as we cross the line. That's lap 93 of 167. So fortunately, we are still green flag racing. Here's a look, Lawson Pio now trying to get around the Stonks Motorsports driver, AJ Green, who's already one lap down. And it'll be somewhat of a trouble spot there for Lawson Pio to get around the driver of the 48, but seems like this pass will not take long to complete. Out of turn 3 and turn 4, Green will stay down low and maybe give some pressure on the 12 and open the door here for the 13. So they will stay side by side on the front straightaway, and Pio not able yet to get around this 48, who was just trying to keep his hopes alive to get back on the lead lap. And of course, thank you for joining us here at MaxSpeedTV. Thank you for sticking with us under that little technical difficulty break, but we are back underway and going swimmingly here from Rockingham, North Carolina. There's a pass around Colin Forster. I believe this is to put him 2 laps down. Indeed it is. Colin Forster, despite starting back over in P2 tonight, behind Eric Schaefer, your pole sitter, things have gone the opposite way for the 99, and it hasn't been a contact issue. It hasn't been a crashing issue. I believe it's just been a strategy thing and maybe a pace issue here, maybe some connection problems for the 99, because he was running so well to start, and now he has fallen back. And here he comes on a pit road, and we didn't talk about this before our technical difficulties, but we may have a green flag stop incoming for the field before this race is over. Colin Forster being one of the first to strike. There's a look at Launslager holding on to P3. Eric Schaefer, we saw him fall off against Craig Launslager earlier on in tonight's race. He has held in for P4. And actually, as we talk about green flag pit stops, here comes your race leader, Jesse Preece, in for his second stop tonight, his first green flag stop of this 167-lap race as we approach the final 70 laps from Rockingham, North Carolina. We'll see if Lawson Pio is the next to step down. The answer is no. Same deal for Craig Launslager, maybe Eric Schaefer. So Jesse Preece taking an early call, and here comes Jaden Porter on a pit road. Brendan Banks to follow, the playoff driver in the 88 machine. And so they'll head down pit road. Christopher Bishop seems to be the next one to follow. So your leaders are going to hold in on this strategy to stay out. Maybe Lawson Pio will hop on the brakes, and it will not happen out of turn 4. So he'll stay in command of the race lead. And here comes Craig Launslager in for his stop as well, locking up the brakes, but he gets to pit road speed limit. Launslager in. Schaefer stays out, so he will hold on to second. And Schaefer coming out of the apron there out of turn 2. What happened to the 22 of Schaefer there? Falling significantly. And I think this may be his call to come down pit road. The cue to step all the way into the pit lane. And Eric Schaefer with a scary moment coming out of turn 2. Not sure entirely what happened there. It was entering turn 1, I believe, where it all started. Here's a look at the replay. This is the 22 coming out of turn 4. Again, very old tires for these guys. They had not come down pit road just yet, but it was this move right here, looking on the inside, turn 1 and 2. And actually not sure. The car just stops. It loses power there in the middle of the corner. And you're right on board with the 22. We'll see if we can get a better look as to what happened in the first 2 corners, but the 22 with some problems setting him back. Looks like tried to keep the clutch in, maybe tried to save some fuel, but it did not work at all. Lost too much time and decided it was just going to be a better decision to come on to pit road. And there's the 22 getting the jacks off, and he is finally there out of pit road. His first pit stall, of course, given the fact that he is the pole sitter tonight. Lawson Pio has also gone down pit road, and him and Craig Launslager may go at it for net P1. And Lawson Pio, I think, putting himself in the best place possible. Eric Schaefer, with that mistake in 1 and 2, has pushed him as far back as 9th. Of course, he can cycle through, get around the likes of guys like Tony Kivitt, Brandon Banks and company. But that mistake lost him so much time, and he may be out of contention for the win if we stay green in the next 60 or so laps. On board with Lawson Pio, your 5-time winner. And here comes Craig Launslager to possibly challenge for net P1. believe Cody Kinsey has gone down to pit road. There he is, and Jesse Prees has been in front of them. So actually Jesse Prees will inherit the lead, although they may battle for net P2. Lautenslager and Peel at the moment. Mark Harris is currently sat in third. He is not doing great in the point standings going into tonight for the top 15. Maybe tonight's run could solidify a place into the next round of the championship running for the playoffs, but right now Mark Harris trying to hold out as much hope as possible. He is up in P2. We are still awaiting his decision to come on to pit road, and the gap around, I'd say, 6 or so seconds between Jesse Prees and the next driver in line once we cycle things around 150%. Lawson Peel, who continues to hold on for second. So while we continue under our longest green flag run, no doubt, here tonight from the virtual Rockingham Speedway, we'll remind you that our coverage of the 4Wide Racing Cup Series is brought to you by 213 Simwear. 213 Simwear offers fun novelty sim racing apparel with a variety of styles, sizes, and more for you to enjoy and rep sim racing on and off the track. Shop today and find out more at 213simwear.com. Approaching our final 62 laps here from Rockingham, North Carolina. Jesse Prees, of course, looking for his first win. Mark Harris in second, trying to stay out as long as possible. We're still waiting a point where he's going to hit pit road. Lawson Peel holding on to third. He has cleared away from the 13 of Craig Lautenslager. We'll monitor that battle if that gets any closer for the next stint of the race. But for right now, it seems to be okay. Jaden Porter is currently locking up the top 5, so a solid run tonight for the 28, who is trying to back up his win from 1 week ago at the Nashville Super Speedway. Brandon Banks currently rides in P6 just behind, so maybe a battle could form inside top 5. Tony Kivitt, I believe he is also yet to come down pit road along with Mark Harris, so we should expect him to come down sooner than later. He is 7th. Eric Schaefer is currently trying to get around. We saw that mistake in 1 and 2. Now he gets by Kivitt for 7th. So Schaefer into 7th. Tony Kivitt now reverts back to P8. Christopher Bishop, he's had a quiet night so far here from the Rock. He settles in tonight. And Michael Newbraw in the 6th rounds out your top 10. And he is the first driver 1 lap down on track in that red bannered Top Gun Maverick Camaro. AJ Green, Lance Hill, they had stayed out on our first caution and felt like the no tire fuel call was going to work, and it did not. It has gone awry for these guys right here. 11th and 12th right now, the two teammates, both 1 lap down. There's Green just behind the 13 of Craig Lautenslager, so he's kind of on the outskirts looking at the battle for second, although he is 1 lap behind this entire battle for running order. Lance Hill, his teammate, behind in 12th. Colin Forrester has struggled all night long in that 99 after starting second. He is currently 1 lap down as well in 13th. Cody Kinsey behind him, also 1 lap down in 14th. We may have a battle between them two if Kinsey is able to keep up the pace. Curtis Kelly was also in that trio with AJ Green and Lance Hill to come down pit road and not take Goodyear Eagles. Curtis Kelly, of course, making that stop, but he's already 2 laps down on the racetrack in 15th. And Tyler Murray is 6 laps down in P16. He is the final one in this field. We were supposed to have 18 cars on the racetrack officially, but due to the fact that we had some not get to the grid, we have 16 total here tonight from Rockingham. There's Mark Harris getting passed by both the 12 and the 13, so things are officially cycling out. Actually, rather, the 13 now getting around the 5. That was AJ Green trying to pick his way through both of them. Again, AJ Green on a route to unlap himself here in the final stint of this race. But they get around Mark Harris, and it may be the cue for Mark Harris to hop on the brakes and head for pit road. But Harris trying to stay out as long as possible. Him and Kivitt somewhat on the same strategies right now as of lap 112. So right on board here with Jesse Prees, and for the driver of this 00, he continues to put on a show. Of course, the laps led counter is not accurate. Had to reset our telemetry here in the middle of the race, of course, with us getting kicked out of the session. That also did not help, but I think this may give us an interesting note on what we could expect for the rest of the race. You heard that in 3 and 4. He was clutching on the inside of his Chevrolet Camaro. Listen to it in 1 and 2. Does not go clutch in 1 and 2, but in 3 and 4, I had the clutch fully engaged and the engine revs dipped all the way down to that 2,000 level, completely idle in a Chevrolet Camaro. We'll take another listen. Well, that time by does not hop onto the clutch, so Obviously, the rev staying high in 5th gear for Jesse Priest, but we saw him hit the clutch, so there may be an effort to save fuel at least just a little bit for Jesse Priest. And I figure if he's doing that, it means the rest of the field may be in for a challenge. We'll ride on board with Lawson Peel. We'll see if he's employing the same strategy. Take a listen going into turn 3. And he does not, so Lawson Peel staying on the gas. As for Craig Lautenschlager, we'll take a look and see exactly whether the revs dip down going into 1 and 2. 13 will stay in 5th gear, so staying where he's at for the moment. And those guys are not saving fuel, so maybe they can make it all the way to the end, although the next 51 or so laps are going to be a tall order for these guys, and they may at least want a yellow sooner than later so that they can take a splash of fuel and be on their way, maybe get an extra set of tires onto their Cup Series cars and be on their way for the rest of this race. Again, this is our longest green flag run of the season, or rather the playoffs here tonight from Rockingham Speedway. And Jesse Priest has commanded the way, coming to 50 laps to go. Lawson Peel, Craig Lautenschlager continue to hold in for P2 and P3. Really no battles on the racetrack right now. We haven't seen much happen apart from our cycle on pit road. Mark Harris, we saw him get passed by both Lautenschlager and Lawson Peel. He has since fallen back in the reins of Jaden Porter and Brandon Banks, so he is now back in 6th. Tony Kivitt, we saw him get passed by Eric Schaefer a couple laps back. Kivitt is starting to plateau around P8. Maybe P9 if Christopher Bishop can close up on him. That 42 getting remarkably close here to the 76, so we may have a potential pass there for position. But for the moment, apart from that, really nothing happening on the racetrack, and Bishop may have to worry about another factor here, him getting lapped by your race leader Jesse Priest as things start to get tight here. And I believe Eric Schaefer may look around Mark Harris. Actually, no, it did not happen. Our telemetry told us there was possibly a pass there on the racetrack, but nothing happened in fruition for any of the passes to be officially completed on the racetrack. So we stay single file, and it's been like that since the drop of the green flag. We've seen a couple of battles through the track, and obviously that big mess between the fresh tire cars on the restart after our first yellow and the trio of Kelly, Green, and Lance Hill, who had decided to take fuel only on their respective stops. Apart from that, we haven't seen much passing here in the Rockingham Speedway, but it just shows you just how hard it is to drive these cars here at this track. And of course, mention the issues that drivers were having in practice coming out of turn 2 specifically, but even in 3 and 4, this track beats you up, and it is not afraid to do so. It is not afraid to roughen these cars up and to destroy the tires if you let it. You kind of have to play it very safe here, and I feel like that's the theme that we've been seeing so far in these 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs, at least in the first 3 races. You think of Nashville Super Speedway, a concrete track, very tough surface, a very hot surface usually on a sunny day. It wasn't as hot as it could have been at Nashville when we visited there just 1 week ago. It was a overcast day, so it was cooler skies, but really that track hard to run at the limit. This track very hard to run at the limit. In fact, even harder than Nashville Super Speedway because of the bumps and because of the fact that the banking is much more intense, and this track way different. And then you go to the 3rd race of the playoffs, the first race of the round of 10, Darlington Raceway, one of the toughest tracks to race in NASCAR, and is known simply as a driver's track. It is one that you have to treat with respect, and they call it the Lady in Black. They call it the track too tough to tame for a reason. It's because it is immensely tough to get around that racetrack at your fastest. It's tough to drive it at the limit, and that's the appeal of a racetrack like Darlington. So these next-gen cars are going to get beat up even more by the time we head to South Carolina 1 week from tonight. Of course, all that coverage being 9:10 p.m. Eastern. You'll have it next Wednesday here on MaxSpeedTV. Again, clutching out of the 00 Jesse Priest. We saw a couple laps ago. He had refrained from doing it in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but I think the fuel situation is getting tighter for your competition up at the front. This time, Priest does not look to save any fuel in the middle of 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 seems to be his money spot when it comes down to hitting the clutch and letting the car coast in idle mode. And right there, hitting the clutch, entrance turn 3 just before that white line. And so Jesse Priest now starting to save some fuel. We'll take note if the likes of Peel and Lautenschlager are doing so, but they have closed in on your race leader. So either there is a big call difference between these two. Of course, they pitted on different laps. Jesse Priest 3 laps. He pitted later than the likes of Lawson Peel and Craig Lownslugger. Actually, 2 laps compared to Lownslugger, 3 to Lawson Peel. And those 2 laps even to Lownslugger may be the difference that gives Lawson Peel or Craig Lownslugger a win. Prees having to worry significantly about this fuel situation to make it all the way in the final 50 laps. And Lawson Peel, Craig Lownslugger trying to run him down. You take a look at the blimp cam. Of course, it's really hard to see these cars on the back straightaway, but entrance turn 3, there's a look at that gap. 1 car in the middle, and that's lap car AJ Green to split the difference. Things are about to get hectic here from the virtual Rockingham Speedway. That time, lead closes down to half a second. Lawson Peel is catching up. And you think of the difference in lap time with saving in 3 and 4. Jesse Prees lost a total of 3 tenths that last time by. A 25 flat for Lawson Peel, a 25.339 for Jesse Prees in the 00. So things are getting worrisome if you're Jesse Prees. Here comes Prees against AJ Green. Green trying to lap himself, and they may stall him further. Here comes the 12 and the 13. Lownslugger looking for a pass in a turn 3. Will not make a pass attempt, and he'll be stuck behind the 48, but it may push him through and will not act as a pick. Side by side for the lead at lap 130. And a worse exit there for Peel. Now allows the 13 to take a step to the outside, so that may shuffle things a little bit. It may stifle the battle for the lead for a moment. Here comes Lownslugger to the outside in turn 3. And Lownslugger has been known to pick his moments at these abrasive tracks, and it works this time by. Lownslugger clears for second, and has a clear headway move for P1. No lap cars, of course, in front, with a 13 closing in on the 00. It is not over yet for Prees on the defensive end. And you think maybe Prees regretting the call to pit early amongst the competition. Lownslugger and Peel and company, they have pitted way later than your race leader Jesse Prees, so it is getting tight for the 00. For now, he continues to hold on to the race lead, on board with the 00 entering turn 3, and again hits the clutch in the middle of the corner, but backs up to the throttle way earlier. And now here comes the 13, a nose inside for P1. Lownslugger has yet to get in the race lead all night long. Peel with a huge set in 1 and 2 will keep him in the battle. A 3-way fight for P1 with 34 laps to go. And again that time, Lownslugger backs up in the middle entrance, turn 3. This time, Lawson Peel will have space to maneuver for second. Now we're almost 3 wide. Here comes Peel with a move into turn 1. Jesse Prees under heavy firepower. Lawson Peel trying to get a run off the 25 degrees of banking. Cannot do it. Jesse Prees staying in the race lead. It's been a trooper effort out of the 00 as the 12 and the 13 continue to put the pressure on. What an unbelievable set of circumstances. Peel diving it again hard into 1 and 2. Lownslugger, no answer for it. There's lap car Mark Harris trying to get around this group, so it may pick into the battle. There's smoke up in front. Car slow on the inside. That is the 71 of Curtis Kelly, but we will stay green. Mark Harris flying by first, second, and third. Prees going to have to give space, and here comes Lawson Peel entering turn 1. And this is a strategy we've seen work out of the 22 Eric Schaefer, if you can recall, back on the K1 Racing Network, broadcasting the 4Wide Racing ARCA series from this very track. Eric Schaefer was the fastest using the maneuver that Peel is doing right now, a move on the outside and then sliding back down in 1 and 2, had a nose in entrance of turn 3 to turn 4, and now he'll have a retaliating attack by the 13. Lownslugger not giving an inch and will stay relentless out of turn 2. Finally singled out as we approach the last 30 laps here from Rockingham, North Carolina. Your top 3 all crunched in within 0.2 of a second. Here comes Peel to the inside for the lead in turn 1. Peel to the bottom, holding strong, door to door. Prees with a better run out of turn 2. Here's the door open, the space being filled by the 13. Does Lounslugger have anywhere to go? Answer is no, and we are still side by side for second. Now again, Peel back to the inside as Prees tries to hold strong. Peel with another dive in a 1 and 2, holding through on the bumps. Peel with a better middle, but Prees with a better exit again. Still holding in P1. A Herculean effort by Prees to stay in the lead while saving fuel and hitting the clutch into turn 3. And we talk about the great battles we saw at Nashville Super Speedway just 1 week ago. Joe Sanchez, AJ Green. We had Brandon Banks, Jaden Porter going at it for the lead. And now we have a 3-way fight for P1 in the final 27 laps in the second race of the 4Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs in Season 4. Again, single file between Prees, Peel, and Lounslugger, but it is still not over just yet. Peel going to try to attack in turn 1. Will figure himself out. We'll get all the way to the outside. And we'll try once again to get a heavy move out of turn 2. And he's looking for the run. You can tell, trying to build up a momentum shift into the middle of 1 and 2. Hit the apex and then diamond it down to the inside. We've seen that diamond approach work so well at a track like Rockingham. And even some worked at Nashville Super Speedway in some extent. Peel trying to use the Eric Schaefer approach to get to the lead. Although that time it doesn't work. Some lap cars going at it up in front of them. That is Colin Forster, AJ Green, the 2 teammates. Of course, this is not for position. Forster in 14th. AJ Green now on the lead lap in P10. But they may have an effect in this battle, most notably Forster. Green has been able to keep enough speed to get by these leaders. We saw him go by and pick himself into the battle. But Colin Forster may be the piece here that could allow Lawson Peel to get to the race lead and get his 6th win in 2022. And what a feat that will be for Lawson Peel, not only getting his 6th win and continuing to build on the gap between himself and the other driver, Eric Schaefer, who has built up 3 wins on the campaign. He'll have a win that gives him the ticket into the round of 10, and that gives him even more bonus points when you enter that round of 10 for Darlington, Talladega, and Charlotte Motor Speedway as Prees slides up the track and hip checks the 99 of Colin Forster, gives way for the 12 of Peel to take the lead away. Unbelievable move as Prees shuffled up high. I believe was expecting Forster to follow up suit on the track, but Forster stays planted in the middle of the track in turn 1 and 2 as Prees falls to 3rd. Lounslugger shuffles to 2nd, but Lawson Peel finally breaks free for P1. And there's the gap now to Jesse Prees. You see how far that is coming out of turn 4 as the leaders will get by Colin Forster. Looks like no drama, and fortunately Colin Forster was able to save that Chevrolet Camaro, so he will stay green, although there's a bit of left rear damage out of the driver of the 99. He will give way for Lounslugger, but Prees has now fallen significantly and may be at the clutches of the rookie Jaden Porter to step into 3rd and get another top 3 finish. It'll be his 3rd top 3 finish in a row, rather 4th actually, if he can get it done. A 3rd place, or rather, yeah, 3rd place at Watkins Glen, a 3rd place over at the Kansas Speedway, and did well over at the Nashville Super Speedway to get his very first win. Brandon Banks still there on the rear side of that battle. And it is 0.6 of a second between Peel and Craig Lounslugger, coming to 20 laps to go from Rockingham, North Carolina. An unbelievable set of events shifting the competition, and Prees, by the way, still saving fuel entering turn 3. He was holding on to that lead while clutching and coasting in the middle of 3 and 4. But finally, a mistake out of the 00, getting around the lap car, gives Lawson Peel enough momentum to slip by. Same deal for Lounslugger, who will hop into 2nd. And in the final 20, is going to be all hoping that a caution does not come out, or hoping they can make it on fuel, riding on board with the 12 of Peel. And you could tell they're on board with the 12 of Peel, not clutching and coasting at all. We'll take a listen into turn 3. We saw Priest, of course, taking a very conservative approach to save fuel. Lawson Peel not letting up at all. You see the hop on the brakes, and then immediately gets back on the throttle as soon as he can. Lawson Peel looks to be comfortable enough to make it, and the same could be said for the 13 as he gives way for a lap car, Curtis Kelly. We saw him sliding to the inside of the track. That could have caused our second caution tonight from Rockingham Speedway, but fortunately it did not. It was some smoke rising in front of the leaders. Curtis Kelly now having enough space. He had dipped down pit road, so he's going to have the fresh tire power to get around your leaders and will unlap himself again. 13 of Lounslugger not saving. Priest is still on that saving mode, so there may be even concerns now, even after falling out of the race lead, whether he can even make it to the end of this race in the checkered flag, coming to 15 laps to go. So we look across the racetrack, no significant developments, and drivers may go even further one lap down. We look at Christopher Bishop, Michael Newbraw there, 8th and 9th on the racetrack, and AJ Green, who had just unlapped himself, may be lapped again in the final 15, so it's going to get a little tough for the likes of Green and company to get back in this race. They would really need a yellow to come out for them to even have a chance right now, and Green not having the best race. Of course, that call for no tires on pit road after the first caution really bit himself and his teammate Lance Hill and Curtis Kelly in the 71. I think they were expecting a yellow that whole time in that short run after the restart, but could not get the yellow flag to throw out. And so they are basically just holding on for dear life, trying to hold on to however many point standing gap they can hold, at least into the top 10. And so the lead is opened up 0.7 of a second. And last time by, Peel a 25.661, Lounslugger 25.675. And as they cross the line, a 6.58 for Peel, a 7.47 for Craig Lounslugger. So Peel, I think, has the opportunity to just open this lead up as much as possible and just run away with it again. If this Lawson Peel, number 12, gets the victory lane tonight from Rockingham Speedway, it'll be his 6th win on the calendar, and will just continue to add more exclamation points after the statement made in his first win of the season earlier in the campaign at Phoenix Raceway. And this 12, what can you say about him being one of the best drivers, if not the best, in this 4-Wide Racing Cup Series season? And if Craig Lounslugger can hold on to second, this will be a huge momentum booster. Again, we talked about at the top of the show and even midway through the race, Kyle Benson, not here tonight, out of state. You saw him in the YouTube chat if you've been watching alongside the entire time. In chat, of course, I was trying to root on for league owner Tyler Murray as we approach the line here for what will be 11 laps to go from Rockingham Speedway. Benson going to lose a lot of points. Craig Lounslugger came into this race P4, just behind Benson, a very beautiful race at Nashville Superspeedway after finishing 3rd. Benson had finished 2nd, and of course, we've already talked about it ad nauseum. Jaden Porter going to victory lane and pretty much being the playoff spoiler. But this 13 getting another 2nd place finish tonight. If he can complete it or even get the race lead away from Lawson Peel, this may be a beautiful run to the Championship 5 if he can only continue to hold on to it. Craig Lounslugger was not one of the Championship 5 last season, so it's been a while since we've seen the 13 run for a title in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. But as we head into the final 10 laps, he may have a shot at your race leader, because, by the way, last time by, Lawson Peel set a 26.1. Second place Lounslugger, a 25.7. He is closing in now 0.3 of a second between the 13 and the 12. So we thought our 3-way battle ending with Jesse Priest getting into Colin Forrester might have been the nail in the coffin, but it's not over quite yet. Oh, and Michael Newbraw going low in the track, turn 3. It forces Peel's hand, and here comes the 13 trying to take advantage. Not sure what Michael Newbraw was doing there in the middle of turn 3. Entered way low, was not expecting Peel to go as far down there to the yellow line. So Peel has a huge hiccup, and Lounslugger closes in 0.2 of a second, coming to 7 laps to go. And in a race marred by weird strategy and an unbelievable 3-way battle for first, may end up in a two-way tie for the race lead. Peel, of course, trying to extend his buffer as the playoff points leader. Lounslugger trying to make a statement to get his first ever win in Season 4. That time by a better lap for Craig Lounslugger, and this time by will approach 6 laps to go from Rockingham. And at this point, if you're Lawson Peel, all you have to do is avoid mistakes. So we've seen the mistakes take center stage here to attract the demand so much out of you, especially out of this 12, coming to 5 laps to go. We saw him cause the first caution out of turn 2, got loose, overcorrected it into the outside wall, had some toe link damage, and had to resort to the faster pair to get himself back on track and competitive. You think about Eric Schaefer, the mistakes he's made so far tonight after falling out of the race lead. Jesse Prees with that most recent mistake, hip checking the 99 to get back to 3rd as he's trying to hold on against the 28 of Jaden Porter, and now mistakes may be the deciding factor as to who wins this race. This time, he was able to stop the bleeding, and he will come across the line for 4 laps to go from Rockingham. AJ Green not going to be a factor here. He has since put on a gap to your race leader, and so lap traffic may not be a factor, but a caution can still come out. Remember, all these guys on track, most of them single file, but we've seen most of the mistakes come single-handedly, not with other drivers around them on the racetrack or contact between two. And Lawson Peel trying to cling on to a 4/10 of a second gap. 3 laps to go, and only a handful miles left from Rockingham, North Carolina. Peel looking for his 6th win on the calendar. Craig looking for his 1st. Jesse Prees, Jaden Porter, they're going at it for 3rd. It'll be 2 laps to go this time for the 12. And Lounslugger trying to do whatever he can to get back in the game. Oh, and Porter way loose out of turn 4. And I'll lose him a lot of time to the 0-0 going into turn 1. And for the 12, it has been a rebounding race since the start. Didn't qualify well. Had to pick his way through the field and then got into the outside wall, trying to catch up to Jaden Porter. And as he comes out of turn 4, it could be the period on what has been an unbelievable race from Rockingham. Lawson Peel to the white flag and into turn 1 for the final time. Lawson Peel, the rookie driver from 1 season ago, had his first win at Richmond and then knocked off another win at Atlanta for the season finale, and has since brought 5 wins in 2022 and make it 6. Lawson Peel comes out of turn 4 and wins at Rockingham. Lawson Peel locks himself into the round of 10, solidifying the playoff points lead. Craig Lounslugger again with another podium finish. He comes in 3rd. Jesse Prees, after holding on to the lead for so long and questions whether he was even going to be able to make it on fuel, is able to hold off the charge from Jaden Porter and will rack up the top 3. But the Chase Elliott machine, the Hooters Mobile, Lawson Peel to victory lane. Once again, his first win of the 2022 playoffs. And Peel will burn it down in celebratory fashion in a race that we can only describe as bizarre and testing for the whole field tonight. With the cream still rising to the top. Your top 3 occupied by playoff competitors running for the title. And it's the main man, Lawson Peel, the leader of them all. Will lead that way once again as we head to Darlington, and he'll park it into our checkered flag. A little section here with the Rockwell sign on the front straightaway, and Peel will be able to squarely park it right in front of the Rockwell sign in the center. He is your winner here tonight from Rockingham, North Carolina. Let's take a look at your full field results, see exactly where every driver finished at the end of 167 grueling laps under the North Carolina sun. Lawson Peel, a winner by 0.484 seconds, almost half a second against Craig Lautenslager, and Peel will get his 6th win in 2022. Lautenslager is able to hold on a second, another solid podium finish for him, and that will surely be a huge momentum booster entering the round of 10 at Darlington next week. Jesse Prees ends up racking up the top 3. A great race for Jesse Prees overall, and dominated the mid portion of the race, and then that little mistake there trying to fight against the 12 and the 13 ultimately came at his detriment, although he still racks up the top 3. We'll talk to all 3 of them here in our post-race coverage. Jaden Porter, the rookie, continues to impress after his win at Nashville Superspeedway just last week. He ends up finishing 4th. Brandon Banks in the 88, a solid and quiet race for Banks. He ends up lining up your top 5. Pole sitter Eric Schaefer had a mistake in 1 and 2 on our pit road green flag cycle. He is able to rebound slightly for 6th, but not the greatest finish compared to what he was doing earlier on tonight. Tony Kivitt, a quiet night, uneventful for the 76, but he ends up P7. Christopher Bishop is able to hold on for P8. AJ Green unlapped himself in the final stint of the race. He ends up in 9th, and Mark E. Harris is able to rebound for 10th, one of the last drivers to come down pit road on our green flag cycle in the middle of the race. He is our first driver, 1 lap down. Cody Kinsey was on the cut line above Michael Newbraw, and it may just even out going into Darlington next round, and it may be enough for Kinsey to stay ahead into the top 10. We'll just see how the points shuffle by the time we get our points update from the league owners and the admins. Michael Newbraw ends up the first driver, 2 laps down in P12. Lance Hill, Colin Forster, Curtis Kelly, not the greatest nights for them whatsoever, especially given the fact that Forster started in 2nd. Not sure exactly what happened to him around the end of the race, but just fell back, and he ends up 3 laps down. Curtis Kelly, Lance Hill, of course, in that group with AJ Green on that first caution that did not go down pit road, did not get tires, and they had the wrong call in hand as the caution would not come out at all for the rest of the race, and they end up falling short 13th and 15th respectively for them. League owner Tyler Murray is the last driver in the field. He is P16, 63 laps down. Adam Alashar, Kevin D'Elia were supposed to complete a 18-car field tonight, although they unfortunately did not make the green flag. So as we get settled here from Rockingham, North Carolina, it is Lawson Peel who parks it into victory lane for the 6th time this season. An unbelievable number out of the driver of the 12. And it's our time to bring in our victory lane driver tonight, Lawson Peel, getting win number 6 in season 4. Lawson, I think this may be one of the most peculiar races we've seen out of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. A lot of struggles from many at this very abrasive 1-mile track in Rockingham, North Carolina. You yourself had to suffer those issues getting into the wall to cause our first caution. But the question is, were you able to rebound to get to the race win tonight?
Yeah, I was just eventually able to find a rhythm, fortunately, and settle in and kind of figure out what I was doing, because I was struggling big time there at the beginning. Just, struggling getting off at turn 2. I just couldn't get through there. Those bumps were just really messing me up. And, got me really good that one time and wrecked it pretty good on the backstretch there. It's a banked backstretch a little bit, so when you get kind of out of shape, you got bumps and banking you're dealing with, it's kind of hard to recover, and I just really messed it up, wrecked it pretty good, and had to go ahead and run the fast repair. So I was kind of nervous about going the rest of the race without having that, but just kicked it into long run mode after that, and was able to find a rhythm, able to save tires and find my way up there, and that kind of unexpected, but I'll take it.
And I want to talk about unexpected, that move into 1 and 2. And you, Lautenslager, Jesse Prees, a 3-way fight for first with lap traffic in the middle of it all. Walk us through your perspective through that, because you were slowly closing in on Prees, who was trying to save fuel and hitting the clutch. You and Craig Lautenslager arrived at looked like blistering speed, and then all 3 of you just kind of packed in together lap after lap after lap. What was it like to be at that battle in the final 30 or so laps here from a track that's really tough to drive by yourself, let alone in a 3-car pack?
Yeah, just really had to stay patient. Like I said, I couldn't get off at turn 2 very well, and so that was just... I was really just struggling, trying to find a way to get through there with racing those guys, and kind of found that high line. Jesse was saving a little bit there, and I think his tires were a few laps older, and Craig was really good. He was, breathing down my neck there, and, having to kind of force the pace a little faster than I wanted to go. So, yeah, that was interesting. I'm sure probably fun to watch. And yeah, Jesse had a little bit of a moment there with a lap car and kind of slid back a little bit. Hated to see that. But yeah, after that, I thought Craig was a little better than me, but was just able to maintain that right front and keep it on there and keep him back there. So yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but I'm glad it worked out.
You maintain the gap and you end up in victory lane for the 6th time. And if this race, not only, I mean, even Nashville Super Speedway, if that really didn't cement yourself as a entrant into the round of 10, this win certainly does so and will add some extra bonus points going into the next round. Darlington, this way through, walk us through how you feel getting your 6th win of the season, being the all-time leader right now in wins in this Season 4 campaign, and how you feel entering the second round. 3 races with Darlington, Talladega, and Charlotte up next.
Yeah, feeling pretty good. Darlington's another tough one. I haven't done a race there since the recent update, so we'll see if it's any different. But yeah, a month or two back, it was really difficult. So we'll have to get tuned in for that. And yeah, I'm just looking to keep it up and continue what I've been doing. It's been pretty great season.
An unbelievable season entirely in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, but most notably for you, most dominant season here, your first win coming in the playoffs, your 6th total out of the entire season. Lawson, before we let you go, here from the virtual Rockingham Speedway, anybody you want to thank for your performance tonight?
Yeah, thanks for putting on a good broadcast for us, Kenneth. Thank the 4-Wide admins, thank my teammates at Drinky Bros, Paul's Setup Shop, and everybody that tuned into the race tonight, everybody out on the track. It was a great race, except for my one little blemish there off turn 2. It was caution-free race if you take that out. So yeah, everybody drove a great race. So hats off to everybody.
Well, we certainly appreciate the kind words and support, Lawson. Of course, on behalf of our broadcast team here at MaxSpeedTV, want to send you a huge congratulations on your 6th win of the year, and hopefully we get to see you compete more for wins in the round of 10. Darlington up next, Talladega, Charlotte. It's going to be a lot of fun. Congratulations on the win tonight, and we'll see you at the track Too Tough to Tame 1 week from tonight.
Thanks, KB. I'm looking forward to it.
So Lawson Peel, win number 6, 28 laps led en route to his 6th victory on the season. An unbelievable recovery there after causing the first caution right here on the back straightaway where it says Thunder Alley will kick back to the driver who ends up P2 out of the field. And again, a podium finish for the 13 of Craig Lownslugger. Craig, I mean, these tracks, we've already asked you so many times about how these tracks fall into your sweet spot, how good you perform, but just walk us through this very interesting one caution night from Rockingham, North Carolina.
I kind of came into the race just looking to advance to the next round, maybe just finish top 10, do whatever. I'm not very good at Rockingham most of the time. I did some practice before this session on a couple days ago. So I felt like I knew the track pretty well, and I had some speed in practice, and yeah, I just kind of tried to save my tires most of the time. The last couple runs, after about 30 laps or so, I was shifting to 4th, but that gave you a boost for a certain amount of time, and then your rears fell off. So those last 2 runs at the end, I was fighting, just fighting loose. Kind of screwed it up on the last run, I think. I got around the 12, and I was behind the 00, and if I just stayed there and waited for him to make a mistake, waited for a better opportunity, I kind of slipped by. But probably should have just kept it in 5th and then waited for the right moment to get that extra boost in 4th. But yeah, it didn't quite work out for me, but I'm happy with the 2nd.
A 2nd place finish, and of course a hard fought one. And I talked to Lawson Peel about the battle between yourself, of course Peel himself, and then Jesse Prees, all 3 of you fighting for what was the proverbial race win with around 30-25 laps to go. And a lot of drivers, even before in practice, or before the race started, they were talking about the issues this car had at it, specifically out of turn 2, and the way you really had to wrestle this car around Rockingham. Is there any sort of notes you took from this car, maybe from Gen 6? How was this car on a long run comparative to Gen 6, a very different package we ran 1 season ago?
I forget. I think it was tight. I don't know. I kind of threw the Gen 6 out the window because I've run this car when it was in officials earlier in the year at Rockingham, and it was worse than this. So I think that helped me a little bit going into this race. But I kind of threw that out the window and really was trying to keep an open mind, which is why I had the idea to get on a 4th, which helped me. But yeah, it's tough. I tend to do, I think, better at tracks like this where it's just you're just wrestling the car through the turns and whatnot. But yeah, it's a beast of a track, this one. I can't imagine anything bumpier than Rockingham.
So we go from a beast of Rockingham to the Lady in Black. Darlington, arguably one of your best tracks on the service, at least that we've seen, or at least that I've seen here, as you've raced in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series. You were close to the win. I believe last time you were at Darlington Raceway. What are your thoughts in trying to keep the playoff hope alive for the Championship 5 and maybe trying to get a win at the track Too Tough to Tame 1 week from tonight?
Yeah, I'm definitely going all out in both series for that event. I do have a lot of work to do in this car, though, because I haven't run it too much at Darlington. It's this car tends to burn the right fronts pretty bad, so we'll see how it is. But yeah, I think once I get some practice in, I'll be as tough to beat as anyone, and definitely going out certainly to look for a win if possible. But yeah, definitely happy to see that in the schedule right up in the second round. Give me a good point advantage if I don't win to making the next round.
A lot of confidence, no doubt, going into the first race in the round of 10. Craig, though, before we let you go on the second place finish from Rockingham, North Carolina, anybody you want to thank on tonight's performance?
Just everyone who comes out and races, and then Tyler Murray for putting it on. I know he didn't have quite the race he wanted to, but it's good to have his support. So just anyone who comes out and races clean is aces in my book.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Craig. Of course, on behalf of our team here in the broadcast booth, want to send you a warm congratulations on P2 tonight from Rockingham Speedway. And of course, wishing you the best of luck in the round of 10. Congratulations on advancing, and we'll see you at Darlington 1 week from tonight.
Sounds good.
So that is Craig Lauenslager, who ends up in the top 2. And of course, we'll get a word with the driver who ends up into P3, our final driver in our lineup of interviews, and it will be the driver of the 00, very close to a race victory tonight. Unfortunately, it did not pan out for him, but still a statement made on the rest of the field. Jesse Prees, what an unbelievable race here from the Rockingham Speedway, our final race of the round of 15, and it looked like you were the car to beat. 103 laps led on the race. In the middle of the race, it looked like you just ran away from the field. What went behind this stellar performance from this type of track?
Always felt pretty good here. Had pretty good luck, and then it helped that I had another league race here last week, and then the ARC is yesterday, and kind of enjoy this track.
And Rockingham, of course, I think it's been somewhat of a driver's track, and no doubt about it, with the bumps and the aggressiveness that this track really lends to these next-gen cars. And you seem to have one of the better cars, no doubt about it, especially out of turn 2. A lot of guys talked about their concerns coming out of that turn, how loose the car gets, and especially the oscillation on the rear end of the race car. How were you able to not only manage tires on a long run coming out of those corners, but also just to keep the car as stable as possible while still maintaining your driving style?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. You had to really feather the throttle coming out of the corner there, and try not to keep too much wheel into it as you hit those bumps, and try to really concentrate on just throttle down as soon as you got nice and straight there. But yeah, I just had too much issue there with having to save fuel in that whole second run. I couldn't run far enough in the first run. I ran it almost out of gas then, and had to save the entire second run, and killed me.
So, of course, not the finish that you would have hoped for, especially in that final run against the likes of the 12 and the 13, but it's still a solid third-place finish that will no doubt get you through to the round of 10. So now, next round, 3 races, 1 extra round instead of our round of 15, which had 2. Darlington, Talladega, Charlotte. What are your thoughts of that round going into the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, really. I've gotten pretty good at Darlington. I haven't tried it in this car much, but the other 2 cars have been pretty well there, and kind of excited about that. Talladega, it's always luck if you win in that one or make it through that one without dying. But most of the tracks here seem like a pretty good ones for me anyway. But we'll see what happens.
Of course, a great P3 finish here tonight from Rockingham Speedway, and you end up, of course, advancing into the round of 10. Before we let you go, Jesse, here on this third-place finish, anybody you want to thank for your performance tonight?
Yeah, you guys for broadcast. It's been dang good broadcast, and Murray and them for putting on the league. It's been great. And, my Drinking Bros guys, it was a great finish for. I think we had like 5 or 6 of us up in the top 10. That was pretty great. And I gotta give a shout out to Elite for the setups and stuff in my other leagues. So.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Jesse. Of course, on behalf of our team, want to thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. And of course, congratulations on the 3rd place finish here tonight from Rockingham Speedway. Looking forward to seeing you continue your playoff run at Darlington in 1 week time.
Thanks, man. It was fun.
So Jesse Prees in the 0 car ends up rounding out your top 3 here tonight. 103 laps led. Pretty much the only driver in the triple-digit figures when it comes down to laps led. That's how good Jesse Prees was tonight from the virtual Rockingham Speedway. Unfortunately, it does not go his way at the end, but still going to be happy about a solid move that will enter himself into the round of 10. So we do have an official update from your league owner, Tyler Murray, as to who made it into this 2022 playoffs from the round of 10. Of course, Lawson Peel with the win tonight, his 6th win on the calendar. He, of course, locks himself into this round of 10, so he will have a 26-point buffer over the rest of the field. Eric Schaefer will be into P2, so a solid run for him at the end will still keep his points gap alive. AJ Green, despite some of the struggles here tonight, he will be 3rd in the points, followed by his teammates, Colin Forster, Lance Hill. They also didn't have great nights from Rockingham, but Nashville Superspeedway definitely helped their cause. They are the last 2 drivers into the Championship 5, or at least our theoretical Championship 5. Mark Harris, Craig Lownslugger, Jesse Prees, Brandon Banks, Cody Kinsey will all be below the cut line going into next week at Darlington Raceway. Michael Newbraw, Curtis Kelly, Tyler Murray, Kyle Benson, and CJ Munier are the drivers eliminated, the 5 that will go home and will not run for a 2022 title. We talked at the top of the show about the concerns, Kyle Benson being out of state, and unfortunately, he is not going to be running for a title in Season 4. Michael Newbraw, Curtis Kelly, Tyler Murray, CJ Munier, their seasons for a championship are cut short. Hopefully, we'll see them, of course, next week at Darlington when we get to South Carolina on the East Coast, but, of course, they are all eliminated from title contention. So it's Lawson Peel out of the entire field, getting through a 3-way battle with Jesse Prees and Craig Lownslugger, and recovering after a hard hit to the outside wall in turn 2. And Lawson Peel gets win number 6 in this 2022 campaign, easily advancing into the round of 10 for the 2022 playoffs. So for Tyler Murray and everyone from the admin team and race council that makes these races happen each and every week, and on behalf of our crew at MaxSpeedTV, everyone at that camp, and of course Francisco Bacallao, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long and good night from Thunder Alley. We'll see you in 1 week time from the track Too Tough to Tame to start the round of 10.